Welcome to Nuanced Beauty, because the world is nuanced and we think that's beautiful. Hi guys, welcome back to Nuanced Beauty.
Hey everybody.
Hi Bill.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah. First day of baseball season, eh?
Yeah. Spring training has been going since February, and every year I say I'm going to pay attention to it, and I never do. But this week, at long last, the doldrums that happen between the end of football season and the beginning of baseball season, which is the most arduous time in my life.
Mm-hmm. No basketball in our house.
I tried.
No hockey either.
I also tried. The fact is, I don't know enough about hockey to be able to follow it just from box scores, and the NBA is just garbage basketball in my opinion. So
no
all
NBA
I
in this
have
house.
is football and baseball, and football ends in February, and baseball doesn't start until end of March, and so there's like a month of just like no sports, and I've just been like pacing sadly around the house waiting for baseball season to start. But now on Thursday
it has come,
and I could not be more excited to not feel like I ever have time to actually watch the games, but still just like pleasantly comforted that it's there.
Yeah, we did. We actually paid for the MLB TV subscription so you could get the video content and not just the broadcasting on your phone.
Yeah, Christina finally got tired of me whining about not having it. Like, oh, it's too much money. I want it, but I'm never really going to use it. It costs too much. She's like, just buy the things. You'll shut up about it.
Yeah. Well, and yeah.
Basically. That was your opportunity to say, no, I just love you so much. I
love you so much.
I just want you to be happy.
I was treating you. Treat yourself.
Just treat yourself.
Treat your spouse.
It definitely wasn't just shut up and buy the thing.
No, it's good because I think putting that on the TV sometimes, here's part of my thinking why we did it is because the boys monopolize our TV too much. And it's because we don't watch TV. We don't watch TV. Like, I mean, it's a rarity. I got through an 8-episode, 30 to 40 minutes each. How to Get Rich? How to Get Rich was the name of the show on Netflix. It was lovely. But it took me like two and a half months to get through all 8 episodes of that show because I'm just not on the TV.
No, because we have phones.
Yeah, we're definitely on the phones. It's not like we're not on a screen. It's just there's the TV in the TV room, and that's that. And the boys monopolize it.
Yeah,
so my thought...
It's our babysitter for the kids sometimes.
Yeah, but having baseball is a family-friendly entertainment for the whole family that technically the husband wants to watch for the evening, or maybe the wife, Let's not,
I'm sure you're super into it. The problem is... living on the East Coast, baseball games don't start until like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, 7 to 11 is late. Oh my gosh, people.
So when I first got into baseball, we lived on the West Coast still. Yeah, I always said even before I was into baseball that baseball is really more of a radio play than a TV play.
Okay.
And that a little bit has to do with like the historicity of the game. Like you think of baseball as an old timey game. Like, oh, back in my day we played stickball. So you kind of think of old. So it kind of lends itself to the radio format because that's an older media format, right?
Okay.
But also there's just so little that happens in a baseball game.
Yeah, it's a slow pace. Like either you have to be there to see it, or like you can listen to it,
or you have to really, really love baseball.
Yeah.
And I think most people aren't there.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm there.
I gotcha. But what got you into baseball?
Well, let me finish the radio thing.
Okay.
So when games would start at 5:30 on the West Coast or 5, I could put it on the radio and make dinner and feed the kids. And from like 5 until 7 around bedtime, it'll just kind of be pleasantly in the background. So I can listen to almost every game, be aware of what's happening with my team. But not feel like it was taking a 2.5 or 3 hour chunk out of my time with my family. It was just on the radio in the background.
Yeah, like it's such a slow pace that if you actually miss something, you only miss one play, so it's easy to catch up when you can pay attention to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the Brewers, who I'm a fan of, are narrated by the one and only
best.
the best in the game, Bob Uecker. If you don't know who Bob Uecker is...
What was the name of that movie?
Go back and watch Major League.
There we go.
He was the announcer in Major League, which was shot at County Stadium, which is where the Brewers played at the time, which is why Uecker was in it. He also, he had some acting background. But so what got me into baseball? So I grew up in Wisconsin, but I grew up in northern Wisconsin. So we were as far away from Miller Park as you can really get. It was Miller Park at the time. It's not anymore. So I didn't really get into baseball. Baseball is my brother's sport.
Is it the AmFam field?
It's AmFam. It's American Family Field.
AmFam. AmFam field.
AmFam. And what's fun about it is that it has a retractable roof, which is becoming in vogue, which is great. But unlike T-Mobile Park in Seattle, it doesn't go just from right field across the stadium. It forms like a clamshell. It pivots at home plate and clamshells out.
That's the word that I'm missing.
So it's the AmFam clam.
Uh-huh.
And every now and again, you get the one and only AmFam clam.
AmFam clam
Grand
field.
Slam.
AmFam clam.
The Grand Slams don't happen often, but when they happen at the AmFam clam, you get the AmFam clam Grand Slam.
Grand Slam. You can't even do it. That's like a alliteration.
I almost got through
Limerick.
I almost got through it. It's a tongue twister, yeah.
Tongue twister, yeah.
So I wasn't really into baseball growing up. Baseball was my brother's sport. I was bad at baseball, so I wasn't super into it. But then a few years ago, maybe 2015, 2016, I had some buddies from high school reach out to me about a fantasy football league. I never played fantasy football before then either, but I wanted to do a thing with my buddies, so I did the thing with my buddies. And if you ever played fantasy football, it's just stats, numbers and stats and numbers. And when the season ended, I'm like, I need
stats and numbers.
I need my stats fix, yo. Like I need something that I can check every day to scratch this, phone addiction that I've been cultivating. And so I'm like, okay, I guess this is the year. This is the year I get into baseball. So I downloaded the MLB app, and I decided this is going to be the year I'm into baseball. I'm going to be a Brewers fan because I'm from Wisconsin, and sure. I was living in Seattle. Maybe I could have been a Mariners fan, but they're American League, and I have issues with the designated hitter that are no longer applicable. But
okay, so
I started following baseball, and I picked a really great time to follow the Brewers because they were a young team on the ascend, and they had all these great personalities on the team. And in baseball, because they're not wearing a helmet, you can actually see the faces of the players. And there's so much time in the game, they'll interview players and they'll talk about stuff. And you really get a better sense of who these people are as opposed to in football where they're caged in that helmet and they're just kind of interchangeable pieces for most of the game, I had that side job down in Port Tacoma where I would just be sitting for hours at a time.
Yeah.
And definitely not on my phone during those times if anyone from that company is listening. But what better when you're sitting and doing nothing than just checking some stats.
You weren't actually watching the game because you didn't have, again, you were checking a stat board.
No, I didn't have the thing, but baseball is there's so few things that happen in a baseball game that the MLB app will just say strike one, strike two, foul, in play outs. And you just kind of follow the game just from those discrete events. But I get, if you're not into it, baseball could be a kind of boring game. You get to beep that out.
Oh, yeah. You used a word. I'll beep that one out. Yeah. Baseball is kind of boring. So this is where we get into the nuance. So first off, what got Bill interested into baseball? Next up, is baseball boring, Bill?
And the answer is
yes.
In a word, yes.
It
is peaceful.
It is be here nowful.
It is be here nowful. Well, I'll say this. I read a book called The Casual Vacancy once, which was written by J.K. Rowling under a pen name after Harry Potter went out. She tried to write something else. And it wasn't good. It was okay.
It got a lot of bad reviews, right? And then it came out that she was the one who wrote it.
It had no reviews because nobody cared to read it.
Oh, okay. That was the thing. Gotcha.
But it was a suspense where in the beginning kind of nothing happens, and then nothing really changes in that throughout the whole story, except there's this slowly winding spring of tension that happens through the whole line. Because there's not much that happens, the tension, the suspense just builds and builds and builds of what's finally going to happen. And at the end, you're so wound up, you're excited, you're ready for something to just burst that when it does, and it does at the end of that book, half the characters die, I think. It's just the most exciting thing. It's a 0-0 game in the bottom of the ninth, and then you get that crack of the bat, pop, and then is it gonna make it? Is it gonna make it over? Is this game over? The crowd goes wild because you had built up such an anticipation for that event. There's 162 games in a baseball season, and that's going to happen like 3 or 4 times over the course of the season.
So there's a lot of dull and mundane and boring. Like, think about the cute. You sent me a Instagram reel forward from the cute kid in the crowd.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you listen to baseball announcers, with how little there is in the game,
it's like the dude talking about Orange Julius, but talk about the kid in the crowd. That one was cuter.
It's super cute. Well, they'll just like find stuff in the audience to just kind of riff about. And there was this little kid, maybe 3, maybe 4, with one of those little like baseball helmets full of ice cream. And the camera was just on this kid just demolishing his ice cream for like a full like 2 minutes. And the announcer just like, oh, this is what baseball's all about, right? He's just so happy.
He's on the field.
Oh, no, what's he gonna do? He dropped some ice cream down his shirt, and the announcer's like, oh no, and it's just
and he said, Mom's not gonna like that one.
Mom's not gonna like that one. And then he like sticks his face in the thing, like forget the spoon. He just starts licking the ice cream out. But this is in the middle of a multi-million-dollar professional sports game, and in the midst of all of this drama and excitement and high tensions, there's just 2 dudes being good dads, just being happy that there are children enjoying ice cream on a summer afternoon. Like, okay, I get there's a lot of stuff happening. There's millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on the line in each one of these plays. Let's just take a second and enjoy the fact that this young man is out of the ball game, eating some ice cream and just enjoying life for a moment. Let's just pause for a minute and just enjoy that this is a thing in the world, and that's beautiful. I'm crying a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think any other sport does that crazy gallivanting, lollygagging.
Other sports are too busy playing their sports.
Yeah, it's a pace of play thing. Yeah. It's a pace of play thing.
And the commissioner's like, we gotta get more pace of play. We gotta get more pace of play. No,
that's right. That was a rule change 2 years ago where the clock has to run or something like that.
That was, I think, last year they finally instituted it, and now they're even talking about making it a shorter clock. And we're like, we need less baseball. Like, what are you talking about? We love baseball. We who watch baseball love baseball. Like, don't make the game. And now the games start at 7:00 at night. I'm a little bit happier about the shorter games.
Yeah.
Living on the East Coast, and maybe that's a thing. There's an East Coast bias in all sports because of the time zones. But when the Brewers play on the West Coast, games start at 10:00. Yeah, because it's 7:00 local time on the West Coast. It's ridiculous. So yeah, like there's obviously not 3-year-olds eating ice cream in the ballpark at 11:00 at night. But that's the other thing, because there's no clock in baseball. There's no overall clock. There's individual pitch clocks, but the game will last. The game lasts as long as 27 outs.
The innings,
however long it takes. Yeah, 27 outs. They're not going to get cut off, and a game cannot end in a tie. These games can go like 5, 6, 7 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy that games can end like after midnight. And because players who leave the game of baseball, I mean, like it's substituted out. It's not like football where people sub in and out all the time. Once you are substituted for, you can't come back in the game. Mm-hmm. Which means by the end of the game, your players start to switch out, and there's just like nobody left. You have your backup catcher playing shortstop, and you have your third baseman pitching. Like it gets wacky, You have relief pitchers playing the outfield. It's things just kind of get weird. Okay. Because there's obviously it's a game of numbers and efficiencies and optimization. We've all read Moneyball, but it's also a game because there's these substitutionary rules where sometimes it's the optimization goes out the window. And you're just kind of cobbling through the end of the game.
Kind of feel.
And it's so much fun. It is so much fun to see how weird can this get. Hey, could we just have the backup left tackle play quarterback for a play? You'd never hear that in football.
Yeah.
But if a team is losing in a baseball game enough, they're just going to have their bench utility guy go out there and pitch.
Yeah.
And it's a blast. Like and what a great way to lose a game. And this was a thing in that Brewers team that I was following. Is there's this player named Hernan Perez, who you have a T-shirt for.
Yeah, I have a Perez T-shirt.
Yeah, because I bought myself a Perez shirt, but I'm too fat for it. So now you get to wear it. And he wasn't good at baseball. Not really. He plays for like the Venezuelan national team now. But he was just kind of goofy. And so he would be the guy that went out out to pitch at these games, and he'll go out there and do impressions of other pitchers. Every pitcher has a little bit different way of doing their windup. So he would like do impressions of other pitchers, different sidearm pitchers, or
my gosh.
Alex Claudio used to just kind of butt wiggle when he would get set, and so he was doing the butt wiggle. It was a whole thing. And like you feel bad because you're losing this game by double digit runs. But in the midst of that tragedy, baseball finds a way to laugh. So there's joy.
Captivated you by that.
There's joy in this game.
Yeah, and there's also like 26 stadiums?
There'd be 30.
30. There's 30 stadiums. So yeah, we were chatting like last year about maybe like that feels like because there's so many games.
162 games.
And there's 30-ish stadiums, and like, we're like almost 13 years into marriage. Like we should have 30 years ahead of us. So like if we made like an effort to go to like one stadium a year, because as we established, like, yeah, you could like have it on in the background. You don't have to like sit and watch it, but also being in a stadium, like that's where it's at, is to actually be at a live game, because you watch a little bit, you chit chat and hang out and like whatever, like you're more into it because you follow like, oh, this guy came from that team and he's from this feeder farm and whatever.
That's a whole different dimension after I've started following it for a few years.
Yeah.
And like
this guy used to be on this team and used to be on this backup team. And
Brett Phillips got traded to the Royals and then got cut and played for the Rays. So I want to go to a Rays game because I remember him from that thing from over there. And you start being fans of the players as people as much as you are, or else you're just fans of laundry, team, as Seinfeld would say.
Oh, yeah, but the baseball the baseball cap is like the top thing,
Oh yeah, it's super the top thing. It's the most ubiquitous piece of sports,
American
regalia.
Sports
it's
regalia.
Fundamentally American. But I'm saying because players do move so often, you can kind of watch any baseball game and find at least somebody on the field that was associated with your team at
if
some
you have a
point.
theme team.
Really? And then you're like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
It can be fun. Again, finding bits of joy.
But being at the game is like really entertaining. So for myself, that would fall on the this is pretty boring, not gonna lie. But that said, we lived in St. Louis in 2011 when they won their 11th, and you
remember who they beat in the NLCS?
It was like, but then they beat the Texas team, whatever.
They beat the Rangers in the World Series.
Yeah, they beat the
Brewers in the NLCS.
So you were really sad, but I was watching.
I wasn't even following baseball yet, but I was distraught.
Yeah, like you had a minor distraught, but I'm like watching, and whatever game, I think it was game 6 or whatever, or game 5, whatever. It's like if the other team had won that game, it would have been over. But they didn't. They went into like however many innings, and they won it in like however many innings.
Their 11th World Series in 2011.
Yeah.
You know how many World Series the Brewers have won?
I don't know.
0. They haven't been to a World Series since 1982.
Well,
you know who they lost to in 1982?
The Cardinals?
The Cardinals.
Of course.
So can't you just save us one, please, guys? Come on.
But for me, going to games holds a spot, and I tend to be a fan of probably just the Cardinals and the Mariners, because those are the stadiums that I visited. And
Busch Stadium is an amazing stadium. It's a beautiful stadium.
Mm-hmm.
All that red brick and.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as I'm honor bound to hate the Cardinals, it is an absolutely gorgeous stadium.
But it feels like also achievable that we could visit each of the stadiums in our lifetime, and you would enjoy it, and I would enjoy it just for the kind of like intentional long-term goal.
The day
aspect.
Our nest is empty.
It's going to have to happen before that.
Or rather, the summer after our nest is empty. We will visit all 30 stadiums.
We're not going to do it in 1 year.
In one season. It's 162 freaking games. There's a baseball game in any given city at any given time. All you have to do is keep driving around. You'll hit them all.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
It's a lot of games.
I know, but I think we're going to visit them.
Road trip.
We're spacing this out. We're not going to just like mass,
we've been to T-Mobile, the Mariner Stadium. We've been to Busch Stadium. We've been to
San Diego Pirates.
Petco.
Pirates Stadium? Pirates? San Diego Pirates?
Padres.
Oh, there's a Pirates. San Fran Pirates? Tell me who's the Pirates.
I'm just going to see how far this goes.
I don't know what else there is.
Pittsburgh
Pirates. Okay, there we go.
And if you want to talk about beautiful ballparks.
It was a nice ballpark.
Yeah, they're one of the few, not one of the few, I don't know what the numbers are, but theirs are still fully outdoor, which means that there's not a lot of wallage around, and there's the Allegheny Bridge over right center field is just it's a beautiful tableau of.
I've also been to Coors Field.
You have. I have not been to Coors Field.
Yeah.
Have you been to Miller Park?
Nope. That's the one that we have. Like we've been to the same number, but we haven't like been to the same ones because the one hometown, young town. Yeah.
I watched this YouTuber named John Bois or Boys Bois, JONBOIS, and he has a video about one of the most interesting at bats of all time. And until recently, pitchers could conceivably bat, but typically relief pitchers did not because they're bad at it, and that's why they stopped letting them do it. But I loved watching people be bad at things. That's part of the fun. These were multi-million-dollar professional athletes struggling to do something, and there's something joyful in there. But it's like this 30-minute long video about this pitcher who was told, go stand in the box, don't swing, take the strikeout, whatever. We need you to go out back and pitch. We can't substitute for you. But he ended up getting walked on 4 pitches. And he didn't know what to do with himself because he'd never been on base before in his life. So he's like, "What do I do? Oh, this first base is that this way? This way, first base. All right." He goes out there, and how that was kind of the beginning of the end of this pitcher's career. And then at the end of the video, it shows in his last season, he got barricaded into like a bathroom in the bullpen because the players were playing a prank on him. And the video ends with, "Because baseball's not that fun."
Lovely.
I mean, that's part of the tradition in baseball.
There's almost this bashing on it because it's like if you're like the person of the family, is it called the black sheep?
Yeah.
Like if you're the black sheep of the family or whatever, you kind of get like bashed on, but you kind of own that you're bashed on. So could baseball kind of fall into this synonymous
a
thing?
little bit, but I think just the simple fact is that there are 162 games in the season, and even the players they're there every day. This is just their life. This is normal for them. So they're making friends and they're goofing off. So you'll see things where they'll stick gum to the bottom of a paper cup and see if they can get it stuck to a guy's hat and see if he notices or not. So you just see a guy in the ball in the dugout with with a cup stuck to his head, and everyone's waiting. And there'll be cup watch for innings plural from the announcers, waiting to see if this guy notices that there's a cup stuck to his hat.
So it's goofy. It's
goofy.
lighthearted.
One more prank, because Josh sent this to me recently. They call it the hot foot.
Hot foot.
The hot foot. They slipped a matchbook into the back of the guy's cleat, and then
because he moves his foot in a way that might cause a match.
So the guy's standing up forward, and then they had to sneak up behind him and light the matchbook. Because if you ever lit a matchbook on fire, it bursts, right?
Yeah, it goes pretty quick.
It goes pretty quick. So the announcers see it before the player sees it. So you see the other players trying to sneak up to light it, but the guy starts to turn and have to pretend like they were doing something else. And again, for innings at a time,
these guys are ridiculous.
They're trying to slip this in, and again, there's just such joy and fun and goofiness.
Yeah, captured in the sport. Yeah, and the players.
And so. Two last things I want to say about baseball. Because of the number of games, if you miss one, there's another one the next day. It is so comforting that you're in this relationship with this sport where it's just always it's there for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss a football game, you've missed 0.16% of the season or whatever.
16%.
That's not right.
That's like a B.
The other way
You're getting a B if you miss one game.
Exactly. You've missed a big chunk of the season if you miss any given game. It's only there for a little bit, and if you miss it, it's gone. But baseball is always there for you. It is so comforting to know that no matter what, from March until October.
I feel like we need to share this. We need to pitch this episode to baseball to get their numbers turned around.
Because I am going to single-handedly turn around baseball.
164 games.
I've said 162 how many times in this episode?
And I changed it to 164.
Oh, Jesus. They are talking about cutting the games, and how dare you. But it's always there for you. So it's just very comforting to have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched Willy Wonka with Zeke last night, and Willy Wonka says a lot of various quotes that as a kid kind of fly over your head. But one of the things that really stuck out to me last night is when he said, "A little nonsense now and then is treasured by the wisest men."
Mm-hmm.
And it's an exhortation to embracing the silliness.
Yeah.
And I think that's, as I'm listening to myself talk about baseball, that quote's coming to mind of it's just embracing the silliness is just bringing me so much joy.
Yeah.
Someday my team might win something.
Yeah.
But maybe not, and that's okay too.
And you'll just keep on keeping on.
I'll just keep on just finding the joy in it.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and you could disagree with, and still choose to lean in. Give us a follow, rating, and review, and consider sharing this episode with a friend to continue the dialogue and help us grow. Until next time.